Now for the Tower of Flames. Did I mention that I love the soundtrack in this game? The first time that you go in here, you immediately hear, like, this is the remix of the final dungeon theme from Zelda 1. And naturally, because of the different instrumentation, it sounds a lot better. It's a lot more ominous. You have to charge up the slingshot for it to fire far enough to hit that switch. I don't really see the logic behind it, but whatever. The annoying thing about this dungeon is the fire. Sometimes it just feels like it constantly gets in your way, and sometimes it doesn't really seem like it's possible to avoid getting hit by it. Here you have an interesting little maze, and here at the very least, if you get hit by the fire, it's your fault, because what you have to do is take your time, because if you just run ahead, then you'll get hurt by the fire. Although there's always a little bit of fire coming out of the statues from the end that they would come out of. So it's not like you aren't given advance warning of where the fire is going to show up. Like, so right away, like, it's pretty creative. Like, it doesn't just have fire around. It actually has you have to avoid it in a maze. You were never able to stun these guys with the boomerangs in Link to the Past. These guys feel a lot more annoying than in Link to the Past. Like, you can still send them away by attacking with the sword, but I don't know, they just seem a lot more annoying. I guess it makes sense that they're here, because they're hard beetles, and maybe beetles are associated with lava areas. But it's not like this is the Tower of Hera. I mean, that's not what they were going for, because the Tower of Hera wasn't associated with fire at all. I thought that I could throw a Link far enough to get onto that platform from there, but I just barely can't do it. Something I want to mention is that the music that plays when you're on the map screen about to select a level is a remix of the Fairy Fountain theme. But it's so repetitive. Like eventually, I get really sick of it and want to mute it after a while. Like, because of how repetitive it is. It's something that you only really notice when you're recording a game and you have the screen sit on the music. But yeah, like, this is another section where you're dodging more than just flying floor tiles, but also flying everything else. And sometimes it feels like there's too much at you from too many different scattered directions to really avoid it that easily in single player. And I know for a fact that I had my sword out, and somehow the floor tile still hit me at one point. That was weird. I don't entirely see the point of using flying floor tiles areas multiple times, but at least if it uses it multiple times, it's not a wasted concept. But I'm worried it might run the risk of, like, overstaying its welcome and making the novelty of how it's used creatively in this game run out. Shadow Battle pits the players against each other. I think the fact that it's called Shadow Battle implies that you're actually playing as disguised Shadow Links. Stages for this become unlocked as you progress through Hyrule Adventure to make sure that you'll actually beat it and not completely ignore it. There's a handicap option where you can set the number of heart containers for each player. The default is 4, but you can increase it to 6 or decrease it to 2. I hate this part of the level. It's just a maze where you have to memorize what's below you so that you can fall into the right holes. But it's easy to not get it exactly right. And I hate the blocks here because it's never intuitive where you can push them. The platforming controls for the Roc's Feather are a lot more stiff than you'd expect, so I couldn't jump over to where I wanted to. Like, you don't have as much control in the air as you'd expect. Like, when you're jumping ahead, you're pretty much on a fixed momentum going straight ahead. And you'll see that the graphics for the lava are extremely simple here. Again, like, it's made with the under the assumption that you'll be playing on a Game Boy Advance, so it keeps the lava as simple as possible. But even in a Game Boy Advance, the lava didn't look that plain and purely a red liquid with no texture. I mean, in Minish Cap, the lava looked a lot better than that. Maybe this was made before Minish Cap. It's pretty fun defeating that Ball Chain Soldier with the Roc's Feather. Like, all you have to do is constantly downward thrust it, and you feel almost invincible. This is a kind of annoying section of the level because the fire bars are so big that it's easy to get hit by them. Obviously, you can hit the crystal switches to change the direction that they're going in, but because they're so long, it can be easy to get hit before you have the chance to hit the crystal switches. Also, it's easy to roll by accident. It's a good thing that you can roll though, because in Four Swords you couldn't roll at all, and I found it extremely tediously slow after a while. I liked the game at first, but eventually the fact that you move so slowly in it just absolutely drags. It would be fine if you could at least dash anywhere you wanted by just holding A, but I guess A was reserved for the items, but since the single player version of the game is on the 3DS, which has more buttons, there's really no excuse. But all the buttons were used for making it work for single player. Like with AI links instead of, like, actually human links. The gimmick with this Force Gem is that it goes up in the air so that you can't grab it. So you have to grab it with the Roc's Feather at exactly the right time. But because the platform below it that makes it safe to jump into is constantly moving, there's a very thin opportunity for when you're able to jump into it safely. It's better to just either ignore it for other Force Gems or like just go for it. I mean, you don't take that much damage from falling into the lava anyways. For some reason I kept going back into that room over and over again. I guess it just felt more intuitive for me to get items from there than from falling down a hole for some reason. Like, it's annoying, like, the pit doesn't really look like it has anything under it. It looks like just a bottomless pit. Under the rules option in Shadow Battle, found by pressing start on the select area screen, you can choose to keep or drop powerful items. I guess it means like the mystery item, like you throw it and then you can get a cuckoo to swarm or a carrot to summon forces to attack your opponents. Or bomb shoes, I guess you can summon those too. So you can drop powerful items, and you can also choose to not display the heart meter or force gems, which makes sense because that would kind of clutter up the screen. And you can also choose to have a time limit, and Beatty is a time limit. It's such a cool coincidence that, like, I start switching my links at the same time that he does, and by sheer coincidence, I managed to get the right link. And I showed off there that the AI is so stupid that Shadow Link will just stand there not doing anything until you go up to him. Which kind of feels more like he's attacking you in self-defense, because you have to be the first one to attack. Maybe he doesn't really think he's doing anything wrong, because he's programmed with no morality, and he's just programmed to cause havoc for no reason like Vati wants. So when you go up to him, he doesn't really know that you want to fight, and when you attack him, he's like, oh shit, I better defend myself, because this jerk is attacking me for no reason. Like, I don't know, they never bothered to really develop his character at all. Which makes sense since he's just, there's like a huge amount of Shadow Links. It's just a huge amount of clones. Like, it's never specified if it's... Well, it can't be the same one every time because we see multiple Shadow Links at once at multiple points. So, like, there's just a huge amount of clones of Shadow Links everywhere. We never get, we never get to see what their childhoods were like. They probably didn't even have childhoods, and this is their childhood. I guess they're just brought into existence knowing how to walk and stuff like that, like right away. But yeah, it makes sense that there's a Goron here, if only because there were Gorons in the previous level, but I still don't see why he would bother going to a dangerous place like this. What is this place in universe? Like, is it like a temple to pray or something? Because it's not called a temple, it's called a tower. The annoying thing about this boss is that it has the same erratic movement of the Dodongos from Zelda 1, and it's really not fun in this game. I can accept it in Zelda 1, because that's how all the enemies move, completely randomly, and that's the whole challenge of the game. But in this game, well, I guess it's better because you can move in 8 directions, but in this game, it just feels a lot more unjustified having these guys move completely randomly, while the other enemies kind of move more logically. And it's like, you want to stay close to him so that you'll be able to drop the bomb into his open mouth in time. But if you stay close to him, you run the risk of him wandering into you. But it is a neat twist that when he opens his mouth, he actually has a reason to open his mouth because he spits fire. In Zelda 1, they never opened their mouths at all. And you could just walk right into his closed mouth and drop a bomb into it somehow. So it was actually a lot more convenient. So it was actually better in Zelda 1, even though you had much stiffer controls. Which is pretty ironic. Also, in Zelda 1, you dropped a bomb and it blew up almost right away but didn't actually hurt you. Whereas in this game, when you drop a bomb, it stays there for a few seconds if you miss the Dodongo, and it runs the risk of hurting you. But it can't actually stun or damage the Dodongos themselves when it explodes next to them. Whereas in Zelda 1, if a bomb exploded just outside of the surface of the Dodongo, it would stun it, and you could attack it with your sword. So ironically, it ends up being not as fun as in Zelda 1. I really don't see why they have the Green Maiden in the Tower of Flames. I mean, wouldn't it be more thematically appropriate to have the Red Maiden here? And here I'm showing off that you can't go back up the staircase. Which, I guess would make sense, because wouldn't that reset the whole cutscene and force you to have to talk to the Crystal Maiden all over again? But yeah, if they teased the time limit in Shadow Battle, I guess it's representing him going, "Stop fighting, kids! You guys are wasting everyone's time!" Like an annoyed parent.